Hi, this is Ren, and this is All Walks of Film. So, what's been going on with Warner Brothers lately? Recently, they've just been putting out underwhelming film after underwhelming film and a lot of flops, and I just don't understand their business model. From box office failures like Jupiter Ascending and Pan to mediocre successes like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, Warner Brothers really needs to pick up their game if they expect to compete with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Disney Princess franchise, and the ever growing Star Wars Expanded Universe. While the past handful of DC Cinematic Universe films have been mildly successful, the low critic scores and the continued frustration from fans will lead to an eventual downfall if they continue this path without listening to anybody. Now is not the time to be victorious. Right now, you are being complacent. And that complacency will hurt you in the long run, especially when you plan on continuing this franchise without adjusting things. And there are a lot of adjustments that need to be made. So, a woman by the name of Gracie Law just wrote an open letter to Warner Brothers CEO Kevin Tsujihara about the layoffs that had happened, Zack Snyder, and the future of the DC cinematic franchise. She starts the article off with, "When I left my screening of Suicide Squad last week, I was angry. I was annoyed and let down and frustrated as well. But mostly, I was just angry. Look, I'm a big dork, so of course I thought this train wreck of a movie did a major disservice to the characters, concept, cast, and crew. But that wasn't why I was mad. Yes, it's unfathomable to me that Warner Brothers could mess up a movie starring Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and the Joker so completely." Okay, first of all, I just want to say I find it kind of funny that she mentioned the names of Margot Robbie and Will Smith, but didn't mention the name of Jared Leto. Which, given the performance that he gave in the film, I totally get it. It was forgettable and he doesn't deserve to be mentioned by name. A lot of fans might be angry, and rightfully so, because you keep completely whiffing at properties that they are so desperate to love and enjoy. But this is a little bit more personal for me. See, I am a former Warner Brothers employee. I have so much respect for your studio. I love every square inch of that magical back lot, from the Stars Hollow to the fitness center I always meant to use. The people I worked with during my time with your company are now close friends. On my last day, I hugged them and told them I loved them. I was there in 2014 when you made the decision to lay off 10% of your workforce. God, being laid off is terrible. It's one of those things that happens sometimes, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just one of those things that comes in and people say, hey, you're gone, and you just have to move on. Sometimes these are people who've been working for the company for years. Other times they're new employees just trying to break in. It's a really difficult market to be in the film industry. And especially when you're working a stable job in the film industry, keeping your job is very hard. It was a terrible year. Let me catch you up. Every morning I woke up with a pit in my stomach because I assumed that would be the day I lost my job. I've had jobs like this where you go in and you work really hard, but every single day you feel like you're going to get fired, laid off, or something's going to happen, or somebody's going to blame you for something. And the stress of everything like that, it just weighs on you. So I totally feel for Gracie. Every day I saw someone packing up their desk or carrying a box to their car, which is not what you want to see when you're trying to work for a company. I cannot describe to you the relief I felt when my department was told we were safe, or the guilt I felt afterwards walking through the halls of my office with that relief. But out of all of that, the thing that really sticks to me is the memo you sent all of us. Let me refresh you on my favorite part. I wanted you to hear directly from me about our plans for the studio. In recent days, we have started to hear rumors here at the company and to read misinformation in the press, so I'd like to set the record straight. I know that the hard work and dedication of every employee around the world is key to Warner Brothers' success. And I am sorry for the distraction that this situation brings in the workplace. At Warner Brothers, we work with the world's most extraordinary storytellers, and our focus has always been to provide creative entertainment and financial resources they need to realize their vision. Our commitment to that won't change. In fact, we're investing more than ever in our film and television productions. This is how you opened a memo about layoffs. Hey guys, we work really hard for people telling stories here, and we want you to make sure these visions are realized. The ball's on you. That year, we pursued the storytelling vision of Adam Sandler's Blended and Clint Eastwood's Jersey Boys. Failures. Yeah, and they got really poorly reviewed as well. We pursued a potentially great summer movie like Edge of Tomorrow, which was really fantastic, and completely botched its release. Yeah, you released it as Edge of Tomorrow, and then you released it again on home video as Live, Die, Repeat. This is a movie starring Tom Cruise, and it did mediocre in the box office, and the action scenes were fantastic. What the hell happened? Same with The Man from U.N.C.L.E. We dug in our heels and hoped the Hobbit trilogy would somehow stop being a mediocre case of diminishing returns. Talented, loyal people packed their boxes and went home while your storytellers dropped the ball. And I gotta say, directors are one thing, but directors aren't everything. One of the things that I got really frustrated at film school was people that were so narcissistic about their projects that everybody working on it was treated like shit to a certain extent because, oh, well, it's not matching their vision. And then, once the product is done, then they try to take ownership of everything. I don't believe that. As a director, and granted, I haven't made a lot of films, but as a director, I personally believe that a film is not created by one person. A film is made by the collaboration of many people working, pouring their heart and soul into a project. I actually spoke about this exact thing in my director's profile at Columbia College, which I just graduated from. Hopefully, I will progress and have a career, but right now I'm just starting. So I really hope the industry improves from now. It probably won't, but if I'm in power, I'm not going to treat people like that. My employees are important to me. The people who work for me are important to me. And it's never my film. One could argue that this was not your fault, that you inherited former CEO Barry Mayer's agenda and were merely trying to correct the course of an ocean liner heading for an iceberg. I would not make this argument, and here's why. I wrote this letter last year. I actually started it forming it up in my head after Man of Steel was a box office failure instead of a modern classic tentpole you were expecting. I kept holding off doing anything with it because of one title, Suicide Squad. Zack Snyder's Dawn of Justice was a fiasco, but here comes this plucky little dark adventure about anti-heroes. I love David Ayer. I love Harley Quinn. I love Will Smith. Put the letter in a drawer. The ship isn't sinking anymore. Everything is fine. There's no way this movie is bad. And here we are. I got back from my screening and dusted this sucker off. You, your executive team, and your vision of your extraordinary storytellers that resulted in a loss of around 1,000 jobs seem intent on crashing the ship into as much shit as you can find in the ocean by making inane decisions over and over again. Now, I gotta tell you, I kind of like this part right here just because I was a navigator. To be more specific, I was a quartermaster in the U.S. Navy, and my job was to steer the ship in the right direction, specifically giving course directions on where to go. And as a hopeful film director, I hope that I can steer the film ship into the right direction. Zack Snyder is not delivering. Is he being punished? Assistants who were doing fantastic work certainly were. People in finance and in marketing and in IT, they had no say in the movie called Batman v Superman only having 8 minutes of Batman fighting Superman in it. That ends because their moms have the same name. Snyder is a producer on every DC movie. He is still directing Justice League. He is being rewarded with more opportunity to get more and more people laid off. Now, this is the sad part, because before I was just frustrated at Zack Snyder making bad decisions. But if this is true, and right now I'm giving Gracie the benefit of the doubt, DC is on the path to failure. I'm assuming you yourself haven't been financially affected in any real way. Peter Jackson phones it in, and a marketing supervisor has to figure out a plan B for house payments. You just don't get it. And it's not just DC movies. It's your whole slate. Jupiter Ascending, Get Hard, Hot Pursuit, Max, Vacation, Pan, Point Break. Fucking Pan, you jerk. People lost their jobs and you decided Pan was a good idea? You think another Jungle Book is a good idea? Now, first of all, on that Jungle Book comment, I do think that the new Jungle Book will be a good idea. I get what her point is, but it's directed by Andy Serkis. It seems to be a little bit darker, a little bit more mature, and I'm a huge fan of the Jungle Book in general, so that one hurts a little bit, but I totally get her point. And Pan was god-awful. And it had scenes where Hugh Jackman, along with several other pirates, were singing Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm not kidding you. And the entire plot was just all over the place, and it was trying to be epic, and there was a lot of beautiful production design that went into the film. There was a lot of great special effects. The film looked good, but it felt like a shitty kids movie. What are you even doing? I wish to God you were forced to live out of your car until you made a #1 movie of the year. Maybe Wonder Woman wouldn't be such a mess. Don't try to hide behind the great trailer. People on the inside are already confirming that it's another mess. It's almost impressive how you keep rewarding the same producers and executives for making the same mistakes over and over. If I worked at a donut stand and I kept on fucking up donuts, I'd be fired. Even if I made a tiny decent one every now and then. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna get fired. I love that studio, and you're allowing it to sink. It's not about making movies for the fans and not the critics. It's not even about ruining childhoods. It's about protecting livelihoods. It's time to wake up and make the fucking donuts, Kevin. So I love this open letter because it's so on point. It's so honest, and it's so frustrating how studios will continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake. And then you have some people who are saying that, oh, the film's okay, but like, is it Dark Knight good? No. Like, you can't honestly say that Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad are like Dark Knight levels of good. And some of you might be like, well, that's okay, that's okay. No, like, I want these films to be as good as Civil War and some of the stuff that Marvel's been doing. I want to be excited about going to every single superhero movie coming out, and right now DC has not done that. DC has failed some of the hardcore DC fans, and they are going to have to do some major course correction if they don't want to fail. What's even worse is people are losing their jobs because producers don't want to fire the directors. They want to fire the people working on the project, and oftentimes it's the director's fault. Her mention of Batman v Superman only having 8 minutes of fighting. The movie is called Batman v Superman, not Lex Luthor in Doomsday versus Batman and Superman. It's so frustrating. And as somebody who grew up with Batman and Superman, I didn't grow up with the Marvel characters like I did the DC characters. And after watching the Dark Knight trilogy, I would have loved for them to continue on that path. Now, I understand that Chris Nolan didn't want to work on it more. I just feel that these movies could be so much better than what they are. And I actually watched the Justice League trailer and thought it looked good. I watched the Wonder Woman trailer and I wasn't impressed. Neither was my co-host Casey. But that's just us. Because I've seen so many trailers and I've seen so many movies, I can kind of see the movie that they're trying to present, not just what the trailer is. And who knows, it might be good. They might change some things. and it might be a good movie. I personally think that Gal Gadot is kind of a weak choice for Wonder Woman because she doesn't have that presence that I would want. I know some people are going to argue with me on that, and that's okay. Warner Brothers right now is being too complacent and they're setting the bar way too low. Because while you might have a small fan base who likes your movies, you need to be pulling in a bigger crowd than that. And you could have more fans. There were a lot of fans of The Dark Knight who aren't even fans of comic books. You could be making movies like that. You don't necessarily have to make absolutely family-friendly movies in order to compete with Marvel. And I know some people would argue that Batman and Superman are for kids. And I would say that if you have read a comic in the past 20 years, you would realize that Batman and Superman are made for a much broader audience. Sure, there might be animated shows, and sure, there might be comics that are pitched towards younger kids. But for the bulk of it, it's pitched toward a mid-teen to young adult audience. Look at the Batman animated series, which is still amazing. That wasn't made for just kids. And when they tried to make The Batman, it wasn't as successful for that very reason. Hell, watch one of the DC animated movies. They're pretty dark and they're PG-13. And personally, I want the movies to stay dark because that's consistent with what the DC franchise is. So I just wanted to give a thank you to Gracie because I think as fans, we deserve better movies. Hell, even as moviegoers, we deserve better movies. While you might accept what the films are right now, but you can't deny that Warner Brothers could be making better movies, and in the past, they had a much more consistent track record. These past couple years should just be a blip. They shouldn't be the standard. So, what do you think? Do you think Warner Brothers is going in the right direction? And do you think Gracie is just a disgruntled employee? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.